my goodness.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
This is the second time that it's worked on the first try, so
we're
nice. Playing with fire here, and I love it.
Yeah, I was born when Mercury was in retrograde, so every technological thing fails when I'm involved. So
right, I'm always the second wave. I'm one of those people where I get it, it works for everyone else, and then I get it, and it's just like, no, not this time.
I know we're cut from the same cloth.
So, as you guys know, we have our wonderful Patreons who keep us going and keep us afloat. We couldn't do this without you, and one of our perks is shout-outs. So, doing our wonderful shout-outs today is Mr. Charlie Sanders. Woo!
Yay! Hey, what's up, Patreons? This is Charlie Sanders, creator of Weird City, and I'm going to shout you out. Shout out to Adrian. Shout out to Angela Gasparetti. Shout out to Ariette. Shout out to BBS. Shout out to Chaos Magic. These sound like Weird City names.
Exactly.
It's probably maybe my favorite name so far. Shout out to Dissidendi. Shout out to Discontented Winter. Shout out to Eric G. Shout out to Erica Smith. Shout out to Gigi Kirsten. Shout out to Goddess Sashat. Shout out to Guy Obsessions. Shout out to Jean-Claude. Shout out to Jess. Shout out to Joe Nuevo. Shout out to Kalia Pollock. Shout out to Carla. Shout out to Milky. Shout out to Mizitzi. Shout out to Origin Fire. Shout out to Purple Pints. Shout out to Ryan Rokamp. Shout out to Sarah G. Shout out to Miranda. And shout out to Tori Marie.
Woo!
Yay!
Thank you so much, Charlie. We appreciate that. If you too want to be a patron, go check us out at patreon.com/BHADPodcast. And without further ado, let's do it. Welcome everybody to where am I? BHAD Podcast. Oh my god.
You're in the hiding in that conference room at work again.
Hey man, it was a good place too, except they actually ended up coming in to set up a new meeting, and I was
really?
I'm not moving.
I'm staying for the meeting.
Well, and of course it was right after grilled cheese. So
that's an amazing moment.
We have so much to talk about, and I cannot wait. I, of course, am StickyKeys, and I am so honored, pleased, excited, appreciated, etc., 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 for our special guest for today. The writer, co-creator, producer of my latest obsession, Weird City, Mr. Charlie Sanders. Woo, 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 woo.
Thank you for the oboe call there.
Air horn.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay! So, this really was a kind of closed mouths don't get fed moment on my behalf. I saw you kind of doing interviews, and I was like, I want to interview. And I was like, I got some questions. And you had spoken with a friend of mine for Up Rock. So, as I told you, I was extremely obsessed with Love My Hose, that wonderful song. And I found out that the singer of that, who we'll be speaking with later, had an Instagram. And so I found his, and then he had you tagged in something, and I was like, oh, Instagram. And I think in my thing, I was like, dear Charlie, I'm nobody, but.
That's right. But then you became somebody.
I became a slight somebody, yes. And
yes, I would have done the interview whether you were nobody or somebody.
And that was so nice of you. I really appreciated that. You're just like, I just don't check this very much.
Yeah. I did almost no social media at all until Weird City started, and then they were like, you have to.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly. Well, that's actually a little bit of kind of what we'll talk about today was the promo, because we were like, aching for promo, and we're just like, where is it? And so we'll get to that. But yeah, and so you were just so gracious and so kind. But this show, so of course, the rabbit hole that this whole thing started with, we are conventionally a Teen Wolf podcast.
Right.
Love Dylan O'Brien. Found out he was going to be in this show called Weird City. And we were like, okay, what's Weird City? So they said, from the minds of Jordan Peele and Charlie Sanders. So I was like, okay, it's Dylan. Yeah. I'm going to watch it, whatever. Yeah. So then they started kind of leaking some of the cast. And I was like, oh, okay, LeVar, all right. We got Rosario Dawson. We got Michael Cera, And I was like, oh, Mark Hamill, what? Yeah, like, oh. All right, and then they said LeVar Burton. I was like, okay, I'm on board. We're here.
That sealed the deal.
Right, exactly. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to watch this. I'm going to enjoy it. And when it came on, I was really just kind of blown away by the effortless kind of diversity in it, the inclusion, the way that it just kind of came together. I know you have the thing of like, well, why is it on YouTube? And you're like, because they're the ones who said yes. Yeah. I love that story. And I'm wondering, when it came to the freedom that you were able to have, especially in regards to casting and into storylines and that kind of thing, how much freedom and how much kind of studio intervention did you have?
A lot of freedom, like more than you normally get in show business making TV shows. And I think it's partially the fact that we're on a streaming network that's relatively new, so they're a little bit more open to edgy, out-of-the-box choices. And then also, I just have to shout out the two producers from YouTube, Kate Gill and Dustin Davis, were just really cool, and they basically were like, yeah, make your show, you know? Wow. So, what's that?
I said, oh, wow, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so some of the scripts, they gave me no notes on, which, that never happens. Like, really? That is totally insane. Yeah, I practically fell over when they're like, nah, no notes, this looks good. I was like, really? I gotta take a deep breath and be present for this, because it's never going to happen again.
Right. Like, let me take a picture.
Yeah. Let me record you saying that.
Now, I heard that you had 4 scripts ready, and then you got with Jose Molina and finished 2, one of which was Smart House. What was the other one?
The other one was Jonathan and Mulia and Barsley and Pfeffer.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Very good. So, because I was wondering, okay, so how did you have the outline kind of for those and how you wanted to do it, or were those kind of new insertions?
They were new. I had no outline. I had written the other 4, so the one A Family. We renamed a few of them in the 11th hour, which is why I'm having trouble recalling. Go to College. Mm-hmm. That was originally titled Sexed Baby, but then we were like, it gives it away if we call it that. Right. So, and then Trapped in the Show. I had those 4 scripts already. And so then we hired Jose, and Suzanne Rubel was our staff writer. Mm-hmm. And the 3 of us co-wrote those 2 episodes, Smart House and Jonathan and Mulia and Barsley and Pfeffany. And then we also, in our writer's room, had my assistant, Maren Caldwell, and our script coordinator, James Livingston, who contributed as well.
Okay, very
So
good.
The 5 of us kind of like brainstormed those 2 episodes, and then, me and Suzanne went and wrote one of them, and me and Jose went and wrote the other one.
Was, what's the last step? Below?
Below.
Was that always was that always meant to be like a shorter episode?
No, it wasn't. We ran out of money and to shoot it in 3 days.
Well, I did notice the kind of thing in there was like when you're under budget and you kind of get to the end.
Yes, it was getting very meta at that point.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and that's kind of why I was thinking it was one of the later scripts, but that actually makes sense.
It was an early written script, but it was the last one we shot. Mm-hmm. So by the time we got there, we were like, it's crazy when you make it. I've never made my own show before, so I discovered this went along. I was like, the money just flies out the door so fast. You're like, So in the end, they're like, we only have 3 days. We can afford to shoot this episode, which is very short.
Yes, definitely. Well, I think it's really cool, though, to be able to have that experience with that amount of freedom and then be able to kind of have the freedom to make those mistakes and to kind of learn from those mistakes and move forward. That's a really cool opportunity.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It was a great opportunity.
Yeah. My favorite ep, of course, outside of the one, would be Jonathan and Malia. And
okay, cool.
I absolutely love that episode.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you liked it.
I'm a big fan of Malcolm Barrett's in general. I first encountered him with Better Off Ted. And he played one of the scientists, and I was just like, I love you. Marry me.
He's a great actor. He's so good.
Fantastic. And then he's a great musician and just rapper and performer, poet, the whole shebang.
Yeah.
And he and of course you have Steven Yeun and Gillian Jacobs and oh my goodness, from New Girl. Thank you, Hannah Simone. Yes, and it took me a while, and I was like, oh, "That's Hannah Simone." Yeah. But when they were playing the song, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in a minute, but when they were playing the little donate credit song,
yes,
and they all started singing, I screamed.
That's awesome.
I was like, "This is me," in that Sarah McLachlan. Because I will stop whatever I'm doing and just start.
You gotta sing along, yeah.
Exactly. I loved it.
I love this little beat that Malcolm improvised where he's about to take a sip of his beer, and then he realizes the song's going to keep going on, and he jumps back into it.
It was great. Oh, and then there's a beat at the very, very end of the episode. They're the couple that ends up sponsoring Barsley, and they're like, "Oh, we brought you a cantaloupe." And the camera is panning, and you see him on one side of the cantaloupe, and he kind of has a stoic face. And then right on the other side of the cantaloupe, he has this little bitty smile like this.
I love that. Me too. Yeah, I'm glad
I've watched this thing like 27 times. So
thank you. That's awesome. I'm flattered.
But I loved it. But that is my episode. And the little kid, I was watching Grace and Frankie, and he popped up, and I was like, ooh!
Yeah, he was great, man.
He did really well. Very good.
All the 2 kids in Below were really good as well.
That show. And then when they said, Splinter coming! And I was like, we're done. I can't with this show. I love it.
I kept ruining takes of that, because something about little kids swearing just made me laugh so hard that they kept hearing me laugh on. They'd be like, Charlie, you gotta stop laughing like that. Every time he goes, that's bullshit.
Oh my God. Yes, I would have too. Oh my God. That whole thing. And then when the dragon came out, I was like, I refuse. And then he was like, how did it feel like living like that, or seeing your experience? And he was like, well, we know there weren't really dragons. It was just a metaphor. And I was like, no. I was like, this is so perfect. It was so good. So what's your favorite episode?
That is a very difficult question to answer, because I kind of feel like it's like, oh, who's your favorite kid? I love them all dearly and very, very much. The one I found myself going back and watching the most is Michael Cera as Tawny in A Family. I'm just obsessed with that character for some reason. Because even though I created and wrote the character, I find like every time I watch it, I'm like, what is with this guy? Who is he?
Well, it was so funny. In the live watch that we had, we ended up having this really intense discussion just about Tawny. Yeah. And it was so funny because it started getting very deep. And someone was like, he's been damaged by the system and his father and these daddy issues. And we're like, yes, but he has this, horrid ego. Like you can only go so far, but you have to help yourself. And just kind of going back and forth. And it was so funny because the issue with Tawny is that it's like, you want to give him these chances, but as soon as he gets that chance, he takes that mile. And
oh my gosh, it's never enough for Tawny.
You're just like, oh.
He has a black hole inside of him that cannot be filled.
Oh, not at all. Not at all.
Well, that's really cool. That makes me so psyched you guys got into that discussion about him, because that is exactly what I was going for with that character. As I wanted to pose that question. Do we feel bad for this guy, or do we hate him? And the fact is, like, both those things are true at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's cool. I'm so psyched you guys had that discussion.
I love the kind of mixing all the little Easter eggs between the different episodes and the way that they all kind of, his boss being the guy in the first episode and the guy later on.
Yes, Strange Man.
I adore him. When he was like, oh no, he is my favorite.
Yeah, Strange Man is great.
When he said, excuse me, but I was eavesdropping. I was like, that is my line from now on.
Yeah, I'm glad you like it.
Couldn't help it over here, but I was eavesdropping. So let's get into it. And I'm like, you know what? If you're gonna go hard, go hard.
Yeah.
But, and he was married to Laquia.
Yeah, that's right.
Whatever, and heard him. Loved it. But no, even just like working for him, and just the whole conspiracy against Blam and
yes.
and all that stuff. But oh my god, one of our members, she was like, they're not worms, they're caterpillars, and she found out like the scientific name, and she was
that's amazing. I think technically they are caterpillars.
Yeah, and she had a whole ask, and I was like, girl, I can't ask this. I don't understand what it's talking about, but I'm just let you do you. But it was so funny. She was like, when they talked to Chester, was like, yeah, we use these worms down in Blam to aerate the soil for the wine, and they're whispered to every day. And I was like, did Tawny steal this idea? And I said, Tawny would. And
yeah, he totally would take somebody else's idea and pretend it was his.
One of the questions was, who was the next smoothie after Delt?
Oh, I think Chutch is getting drank very soon. I don't think Chutch is long for this world, unfortunately.
I loved them using Eugene Cordero and him being on the Ice Age diet where everything's frozen and the beams of light resistant.
Yeah, I'm glad you like that. Yeah, Eugene's an old comedy buddy of mine. We've been doing improv together for 20 years.
I adore him. That's hilarious. That's one that I did enjoy the episode, and definitely those parts of it. It was kind of the one that had the most kind of dystopia into it. The one that kind of had like the saddest ending. The kind of one where you're like, oh. If we do any of the Black Mirror comparisons, and Lord knows you've heard them all, I'm sure. That's probably the one that's like the closest, out of all of them.
Yeah, that's probably the darkest story of them all. And Tawny's a pretty creepy character. It has the potential to be the most alienating episode to the audience, which I've always had a little streak of me as an artist where I want to see, like, how far can I push the audience and not alienate them, but how close can I get to that edge? So Tawny's that type of character.
It's kind of funny because the first one's essentially a love story that brings you in. And then the second one is like a gin story that has the potential to kind of push you out, but it all works. And it's very interesting how that works.
Oh, I'm so glad you think it worked. I was definitely nervous about that, especially when they said, oh, we're going to release it on Valentine's Day. I was like, so all these couples are going to sit down and watch this very charming, unabashedly optimistic love story, and then be like, oh, that was so sweet, I wonder what's next. And then they find Michael Cera eating worms and killing people.
Oh,
I was like, oh, we're really rolling the dice on this, but all right, I'll do that.
I really love when Michael Cera does kind of get his redemption moment, and he was like, you don't talk about my Joe. And he's like defending it, and they're like, yes, now we can be family.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was kind of messed up because, of course, he messes it up just being him, but it's like, you were so close. So close.
Like, Tawny, if you just relax a little bit and be cool, man, people will be nice to you. You just got to take it down a notch.
Exactly. Oh, man. He's good times, though. Let's talk about Dr. Negari.
All right.
That character. First of all, when you just... everything. I just need to know everything from start to finish. When you kind of were putting that character together, did you have LeVar Burton in mind? And I guess, let's start with that. Did you have him in mind when you were kind of writing that?
Not at the very beginning. I knew I wanted to do... I wanted LeVar to be on the show. I always wanted that. I didn't necessarily know that he would be Dr. Negari, though. Because I was like, it'll just depend if he's available, because he had to be available for 3 episodes, which is more of a commitment. So I just knew I wanted to work with him, and then at some point I started picturing him as the character. Mm-hmm. And originally, Dr. Negari was a smaller part. He was only going to be in that first episode. And then when LeVar wanted to do it, I was like, oh, okay, we got to... And he had some weeks available. I was like, okay, let's get Dr. Negari in as many episodes as we can. Nice.
Did he say anything about, like, playing a kind of a villainesque character, a kind of anti-hero character?
He didn't specifically mention that. He told me he was psyched to do comedy because he hadn't done very much comedy before, though. Mm-hmm. So that was the main thing he seemed psyched about. But he just, like, jumped into that character and really brought it to life. I remember he came to the read-through, and it was just, like, electric. And I was... Everybody was selling it. But, you know, LeVar has, like, this magic about him. Yeah. That, like, he just kind of roams the earth bringing joy to people, I feel like. So it's just, like, every day he's on set is, like, a really happy day.
I have a friend that lives in Studio City, and she just happened to see him, like, at a drugstore or something like that. And she said she saw him and just kind of got a little flummoxed. And she's like, oh my God, my daughter follows your daughter on Tumblr. Just some, like, random thing. He was like, oh, that's great. I'll tell her about it. And she was like, thank you. And
it's funny the stuff you say when you meet famous people.
Right. Like, exactly. And so she told me that, and she was like, that just made my day. And I was like, you know what? It just made mine too. Like, totally. Why not?
Yeah, that's what LeVar does.
And I feel like that's exactly what he does. It was really funny, though, because as we were watching, especially in the first episode, when they're separating Stu and Bert, he tells Stu, he's like, shut up. And I was like, did LeVar Burton just tell Dylan O'Brien to shut up? I was like, I don't know how to process this.
Yeah, that's going to evoke some emotions.
The legendary LeVar Burton?
Telling the wonderful Dylan.
Right? But I loved it. I loved his character. I loved just kind of he had such a playful charmingness to it that totally. It was so kind of overt and over the top that it just worked on such a very sweet, like, cute level. And then
I think a great thing, like, what I really love about LeVar playing Dr. Negari is kind of, you know, the antagonist of the show. He's kind of the bad guy. But since LeVar plays him, you know, it's got that sweetness and that fun to it that I really like.
Well, he seems to be one of those guys that it's like science above all else. And so he can't really see, like, oh, there are people behind these tests. He just sees the test. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, he can just read the data. He's almost got like a Spock-like quality to him in that way.
Right. So he's just like, oh yeah, emoji baby. You know? Yeah. Like, no, baby. Let's not. But I loved. And so then we get to the end when someone shoots him. Mm-hmm. And so now we're like, who shot Dr. Negari?
Yeah, we're going to start that hashtag.
I know. Oh, man.
I know who did, but I'm not revealing it till season 2.
So is that, like, in the works? What's kind of the hubbub about season 2? Because you guys, are 18 million?
Yeah, nice. And that viewership held pretty strong throughout, I was told. So the first one has the most people, but the others are not that far behind. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm ready to go. I'm just waiting to hear from YouTube if they want to do a second season or not. But those numbers are pretty undeniable, I feel like.
Yeah, you need us to write some letters, man. We got
I may call upon you for that.
Yeah, we were so excited, especially when we saw the numbers, especially like the first few days, because we were like ready. We had the GIFs ready. We were like, look, we got you.
That's awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
But we have this whole thing about like, oh, who shot Dr. Negari? Oh, so we have a whole list of fun questions.
Okay.
So one of the users, I think it was probably Purple Pints, she wanted to know if Dr. Negari had an overreaching arc that involved getting all of the resources and whatnot available to bring back his son. And this spread through the different episodes. So she feels like the unappetizer was a chance to erase someone completely to create a host body for Xander, that the lab assistant Pitchman was a cloning attempt to clone Xander, that the emoji baby was an attempt to merge a written technology and a human in a different attempt to bring Xander back. And she had one more, and I forgot to write it down. But
those are some amazing theories. I don't want to give too much away, so it's still spread. But I say right. Purple Pints is very astute in touching on some things you may see.
Okay. We'll let it hang out there in the ether.
Yeah, but those are very. I'm very impressed by those theories.
Very good. We've been talking about it.
Oh, right. That's awesome.
So tell us about Girth Haddock.
So Girth Haddock is a bumbling detective, as you saw.
To say the least.
I don't know if you know my acting career at all, but I played cops like 30 times
is
on
that
TV.
Your thing?
On Key and Peele, I was a cop every season. Mm-hmm. I was in this show called Death Valley on MTV where I was a cop. I was a cop on Community. I was a TSA agent in a movie. So I've done it like a million times, and I was like, on my show, I'm not playing a cop. No way. I'm done playing cops.
I'm a detective.
What's that?
I said, you're a detective.
Yeah, that's right. I got a bump. But so I wasn't going to play Girth Haddock, but then director Amy Heckerling came in, and she was like, Charlie, I want you to play Girth. And I was like, yeah, I'm not saying no to Amy Heckerling, so I did it.
There you go.
And I had a blast. I was glad I did it.
Yeah, it was so funny because, of course, Girth Haddock was also the detective in the Smart House.
That's right, yeah.
And I was like, oh no.
Yeah, this murder is not getting solved. If this is the guy that shows up.
Well, I adored Girth Haddock. And by adore, I mean, I was like, oh no. He was like, I'll drive.
He's a good guy. He's just got some ego issues and stuff.
When he shot the cantaloupe, I was like, oh no. I was like, this is a commentary on gun control because there was no reason. Poor Parson.
Oh man, when Stephen Ewan freaked out over the cantaloupe.
Oh, when he had the carrier for the cantaloupe, had me laid out. Like from the very beginning, when he said, "Anyone want some?" and she was like, Like, oh,
everyone doesn't want any, but they're too polite to say no, so they just say
Oh, it was, but I mean, it was just the opposite of polite. It was so rude, but it was perfect. Like, it would have been better just to be like, no, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm full, thanks.
And she's like, I'm not doing anything fleshy. So good. But, oh yeah, and so, oh my god, O'Shell, is played by
Pam Murphy.
Pam Murphy, thank you. I love her.
Oh my god, she's the best. I've been doing comedy with her forever too, for practically 2 decades. So I wanted to give her a good part, and then that evil laugh people seem to be very passionate about. So. Oh
yeah, the second I heard that, I was like, "Yep." I said, "This is all of us."
Oh, you were the O'Shell is all of us person. Yes. Oh yeah, me and Camille were cracking up about that.
Yes, I just immediately and put it everywhere.
O'Shell is all of us. That's a good hashtag too.
Yes. Oh my god. And then when she was like, they were like, "Hey O'Shell, we just got a report of an APB on a missing van. You see anything?" She's like, "Nope." Yes, O'Shell. I was like, hashtag goals. She was everything. The couple that was in about 2 or 3 episodes, the one that ended up promoting bars.
The actor's name is Anthony Holliday. Yeah, he's Nerf Malloy.
Nerf.
And she's Vandria Malloy. And that actor is Emily Kozlowski. That's the actor.
Okay. I did notice that, and this is something that, well, yeah, I'll tell you in a minute. The above the line names seem to be a little more wild than below the line names. I'm wondering if that is intentional.
It was. I wanted it to be like not that everybody above the line has a weird name and everybody below the line has a normal name. There's a little bit of crossover, but the people above the line are in this kind of competition, like we really see on display in Jonathan and Mulia and Barson and Bethany, where they're always competing to be more interesting than each other. And so a way they do that is they name their kids these weird names to sort of compete with each other. So largely the weird names are above the line people.
Well, even with calling him he was like Oliver, and they're like Oliver.
Yeah, they can't imagine that it's just a normal name.
Because I really liked with Stu and Bert, knowing that they were both from below the line, and they're above the line now, and then Stu's mother, like Linda and Ron, and, that kind of same dynamic. And I was wondering about Jathryn. I was like, I wonder if she changed her name because she's trying to, fit into this dynamic, and if that was
that's what we had actually talked about exactly that she had been Catherine, but now that she's above the line, she switched to Jathryn. And I think that I can't remember. It might have been in the script at some point, and we ended up cutting it for time or something. But yeah, we talked about that exact idea.
Mm-hmm. I like that a lot. It's a small detail, but it's one of those things that really, it makes a big impact, when you're talking about world building and creating this thing. I said it's amazing because in 29 minutes, you managed to fit this story that's really perfectly paced out. And I'm going to go into Stan mode for a second. But
what does Stan mode mean?
Just like, I love it. It was really, really well done for
thank you. That's so nice.
Yeah. And because, of course, like being a Dylan fan, being just like, if he does it, I'm going to watch it. I might not enjoy it, but I'll watch it. Right. This was a project that was like, okay, I know I'll enjoy it. But then this was one I watched and I loved it. And I watched it like several times. We can talk about the episode in general. I know that you were like, okay, we're going to kind of have these different elements and we want to kind of make a story that is besides these elements. So it's not necessarily about them being homosexual, but more about them being kind of forbidden because of, someone forgot to carry the 0 or someone forgot to carry the 1.
Yeah.
But in creating this relationship, it still had this impact and still affected a lot of people. Did you kind of anticipate that reaction? And then how do you respond to something like that?
I anticipated some kind of reaction. I didn't know it would be the absolutely tremendous outpouring of love I've received about it. And I'm flattered and humbled by that. And nothing made me happier. Getting 20 million people to watch was beyond my dream. So I'm amped about that. But I saw someone on Twitter say, thank you to Weird City, something to this effect. I'm not quoting verbatim here. Thank you to Weird City. That was the first time I ever saw myself represented on screen before. And that, that practically moved me to tears. I was like, I'm so glad my show could do that for someone. So I expected some kind of reaction because I knew I was doing some I was treading some new ground TV-wise. But I didn't realize it would just be this like tidal wave of wonderful love. So I'm so psyched about it.
I think it was very important that it wasn't, and you have gone on record saying, like, it wasn't played as a joke, but there was humor within the circumstance. And that's kind of what made it charming was, you do kind of have this age difference and it's something that's unexpected, but they live with the love despite that,
Yeah, exactly.
When you were shooting it, first, when you were pitching it, what was kind of the response from Ed and from Dylan? And when you were shooting it, do you have any kind of like on-set stories in terms of just what was the feeling on set while you were shooting it? And was it clear kind of what the concept was? Or did you kind of have to, ease into it?
We did not have to ease into it. We just sent them the scripts and they said they wanted to do it. I mean, it was pretty simple, honestly. I was just psyched that they were, I think it took a little courage on their part to do that, and, but no, they were on board right from the beginning. So everybody knew there was no like coaxing necessary or anything. And then as far as being on set, those two dudes are very similar, actually. Like that chemistry, there's a reality to that because they got along great right away, and they're both the kind of actors that don't go to their trailers. They're hanging out on set. They're eating lunch with the crew. Ed O'Neill's got a million of the best showbiz stories you've ever heard. I mean, I heard every day. I've been, what do you got? Give me another one. Okay, me and Ed Harris are black guys.
Right.
And he just had, I mean, a plethora of great Hollywood. I love Hollywood stories since I worked in Hollywood. So Ed's always telling stories. Dylan's, your fans will be glad to know, besides being a wonderfully talented actor, he is an absolutely wonderful person. Very, very nice. Treats everybody equal. Gets down with the crew. He went out drinking with the crew. Yeah, so they were great. I mean, that week on set was just totally fun. And the set vibe felt like what that episode feels like. It felt like very loving. It was such a great way to start off the show. That was the first one we shot. I think the crew, we just took all that energy on, and it kind of persisted throughout the whole show.
Very nice. Very good. When it got to when was the kiss scene shot? Was that final, or was it kind of in the middle?
No, it was in the middle. I believe it was Wednesday of that week. I think it was right in the dead center of it.
And how did that kind of go? Was there any kind of trepidation, or was it just like, this is kind of what we're here to do? Was there a lot of discussion?
There wasn't really trepidation. I mean, Ed said in an interview, and I remember this from set, he jokingly said, "You guys get one take for this." And we did. That was one take. They nailed it, and we were like, "I don't think we need to do another take." But no, there was no trepidation. Everybody was pretty cool about it. Yeah.
I thought their performances were it was really nice, especially with the vulnerability that Ed showed. I know Dylan, of course, and just the performance that he can give. He has a really great way of being understated without being missing. He is a very good kind of background actor. He can find a way to kind of be seen without being overly done.
Yeah, for sure.
Only really know Ed from like Al Bundy, and a little bit from like Jay Pritchett,
Yeah.
And so to see him kind of play a little bit understated, but not kind of go over the top. And that's, I was like, he didn't give like 110%, 150%. He gave 100%. And it was really well done.
Yeah, that's really well put. I agree with you. He was great. It was a little bit different than what he usually plays. I knew. I mean, of course, I know Al Bundy and stuff, but also I loved that movie Dutch when I was a kid. Dutch, and he's kind of in Dutch. He's kind of in the Al Bundy realm. He's kind of a tough guy. Right. And Bert is like absolutely sweet. He's just like this very sweet man. Yeah. So it was cool to see him, do something kind of different like that. And I think he really enjoyed getting to mix it up.
Was all of that 100% scripted, or were there adlibs, were there additions on, at the time? Was there anything extra that was added?
That was all in the script. I mean, there are some ad-libbed moments that are they're very funny, but there would be more like some of the jokes were ad-libbed.
Okay, what kind of jokes?
When Dylan scratches his exposed toe,
that was
Dylan's idea.
Of course it was. Everyone's like, "Oh my god!"
He was like, "Hey, can we get a shot of me scratching my toe?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." Sounds funny.
Amazing. When Bert burst in, and then Dylan was like, "Don't come in."
I think he ad-libbed that. Well, don't come in. Yeah.
That sounds like a Dylan.
That was really funny. I'm sure he had a couple others. He ad-libbed a lot. He ad-libbed a lot, and we used a lot of it. I can't remember exactly which ones they were, but
how about any of the meet cute? The whole like in the park thing with the ice cream and
ice cream was written in. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I realized after when I was watching the show, I was like, I have a weird thing about ice cream on people's faces, because then in episode 2, Tawny has ice cream on his face. I must have, I'll have to go to therapy and uncover a repressed memory where I dropped my ice cream when I was a kid or something. No, ice cream, like that, all those beats of them falling in love and then him realizing he's not in love with his assigned mate were written into the script.
Booge and Stu.
Yes.
That scene, that was a scene originally when I saw it, I was like, because I know originally I did want a little more conflict from the kids. And then I kind of was like, they had 29 minutes. They had to do what they could do. And then I was like, everything about the scene was fantastic. However, Charlie Sanders. When Stu looks at Booj, and he's like, your dad's a big man.
That was I'm pretty sure that was a Dylan adlib.
Was it?
It's just like, because I had written it being like, I don't want to make any jokes about them being two dudes. That was my goal. But then Dylan ad-libbed that, and when we were editing, it was like, we just cracked up so hard every time. We were like, yeah, we can put one in. It's okay. We've done a good job of presenting this story the way we want to, and that ad-lib's funny, so we put it in.
I was doing something else, and I think I was typing, and then I was kind of looking, and I was trying to do work at the same time, and it was like, your dad's a big man, and I was like, no. I was like, rewind. He did not, because I was just like, and then, so of course, some wonderful, wonderful person on Tumblr that was like, made like the little photo set of it, and then it was like, Monday inspiration. Your dad's got a big dick, but I got through it.
Oh my God.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that while you were taking a drink.
I almost did a spit take on my computer.
But I cackled. Absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's 100% a Dylan thing. I do not
doubt
it.
I'm 99% sure he had that.
He is a menace, and I love it. Oh, that was so good. And it's so funny. There's actually a picture when Dylan was on James Corden, and he's tacking his picture up to the wall. His picture is right next to the actor who played Booj. And
really?
Just crazy coincidence. Awesome. Yeah. But the actor who plays him, it was so good. When he was on the little, like, bouncing thing.
On the horse thing, yeah.
Oh, he was like, yeah, you're pretty good on that thing.
You're pretty good on that thing. Yeah, he shrugs.
So good. And those therapy vending machines took me down.
Oh, I'm so glad. That's awesome.
The stunt, or the urge stunt, or whatever.
Stunt urge.
Oh. Yeah. I was like, why did he have to call me out like that? I was like,
sometimes you just want to do a stunt. You don't know.
Right? Exactly. Sometimes I just have the urge to stunt. You don't have to call me out. There was one about crab issues.
Crab mind, I think it says.
Oh, yeah. And I was just like, what's happening here? Oh, it was great.
I don't know what crab mind is. I'm not sure.
You know what?
I know you don't want to have it.
Exactly. I love it. Someone said that Linda, Stu's mom, creates an appetizer and has an owl as its icon. Her home is full of owls, and owls are the animal associated with Minerva / Athena, the goddess of wisdom, philosophy, and memory, among others. Was this on purpose?
It wasn't actually. Me and my wife have a rack of mugs that are owls on a tree, on a porcelain tree. And I was just looking at that when I was writing, and I was like, oh, maybe the appetizer will be an owl.
There you
know, I read that when you sent me the notes, and I was like, it does, like, weirdly fit what this person's saying, because she is wise, wise enough to create an app and get everybody above the line. So that worked out well.
I love it.
Are you talking about Ali, did you say?
The girl who played Moana. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, Ali.
Yes.
Yeah, she was great.
She was so cute. That whole
Yeah.
episode was adorable.
Thank you.
I just love little college episodes. And when they did the hazing, and they're like, you look so good in that sweater dress. If you
so gosh dang.
So gosh dang good in that sweater dress. He's like,
oh man, those guys were so good at that.
Oh my God. He's like, you'll have to thank my mom. I used that post for International Women's Day. It's like, I respect these gosh dang women so gosh dang much.
Oh, the sweater dress. Oh my God, that was cracking me up.
So good. I love little Chester, and they're so cute. Except they tried to jack girl with an emoji baby, and
I know, not cool, man.
Was terrifying. I was like, oh no.
So I have the emoji baby, the actual physical emoji baby. And I played a prank on my wife, Camille, who plays Chillinx, and I came home from during post one day and put the emoji baby in our bed.
And you're still married. That's
amazing. I'm surprised. But she was like, oh my God, that's the scariest thing I've ever seen.
That is terrifying. Oh, I couldn't do it. Ooh.
Yeah, it's really creepy.
I did notice also during Malia, during her episode, was wearing one of Laquia's toe cozies.
That's right. Yeah, they're starting to sell around town.
Yes, I love that. And one thing I also noticed was Bethany, she had changed her shoes when they were on like the scooter things, and when they went below the line, and when she came back, I was like, oh, she changed her shoes. And I was like, I've been watching.
I got a funny story about the toe shoes.
Yes.
We had started getting, we had our costume designer, Beth Morgan, getting all the wardrobe ready, right, like a little bit before shooting. And I was reading back through the scripts, and I was like, this toe thing's too weird. I was like, this is too weird, dude, to myself. So I went in to Beth, and I said, I think the toe thing's too weird. And then she just gave me this withering look. It was like, I just got done cutting the middle toe out of 100 pairs of shoes. I was like, okay, we'll get the toe thing. We're doing the toe thing.
I also loved during the episode, they're like, why are your middle toes cut out? And they all kind of gave different answers, like aligning it just looks cool. Cool.
One thing is for sure is that it doesn't look cool.
That was pretty dangerous, actually.
Yeah.
But, I loved it. Absolutely. So I want to talk about the music, specifically the kind of the Weird Al like songs.
Yeah.
My low rider songs, starting with Chillinx. And
right.
If you you said that your wife,
Camille Knox.
Yes, is she around?
Yeah, let me hold on one second, okay?
Hello, how are you?
I'm well, how are you?
Good. So nice to meet you.
You too.
The Chillinx in the flesh.
I know, right? It's not quite the same experience.
No, it's great. I was like, when is the album coming out? I
want
to know. Was that you doing the vocals?
No, I'm just a conduit for the vocals.
Hey, that's good. That's how you make the money. You don't have to ruin your vocal cords, because that was a lot of yelling.
I know. I actually tried to do the yelling, and I can't. It hurts bad.
I was going to say, it's a lot, but I absolutely loved it. It was so much fun. How fun were those costumes?
It was amazing. Like 3 hours of hair and makeup and costumes, and need an army of people to help me walk around as Chillinx. But
you just have someone carry you. Just have someone wheel you around to set you up.
I know. Basically, like the heels I was in were like 7 inches high, and my nails were so long that I couldn't touch anything. So I really did need someone to help me get around. Which sounds crazy, but it was true.
Now, have you done kind of like acting stuff before, or?
I have, yeah. I've been an actress for a number of years, and pretty much my whole life on and off. But not necessarily in such character. You know?
Oh my goodness! Well, was it fun to kind of like?
It was the most fun, yeah.
Well, you looked like you were having a blast.
I did.
Really fun.
And there's nothing like getting into a deep character to like disappear from your daily life, you know?
Now, how do you feel about Mr. Shusher, Mr. Guitar on College
doing the cover?
Yeah, taking your song.
Isn't he amazing?
He's great. That was fantastic. I'm going to be talking to him tomorrow about the cover. And
Christopher's very adorable and amazingly talented, obviously.
Yeah, I've been watching his Instagram and like the little videos. Yeah. So I'm excited.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yay! Good. Well, you're awesome too, and I
thank
you taking time to talk with me.
Of course, my pleasure. I'll pass you back over to Charlie.
Do you have anything coming up? Any plugs? Anything we need to look out for?
Not right at this moment. Hopefully soon. I'll have something to report.
All right. Well, let us know. We'll get it
all right. Will do. Thanks, you guys. Bye. There you go.
All right. Thanks. All right. That was the famous Chillinx.
Woo! I was trying to get the rat beef started, but she's too nice.
Yeah, she's too nice a person to have a rat beef.
She was like, please stop.
The character does.
She was like, please stop doing the cover. I was like, no. You gotta be harder, Camille. She was
I know. Chillinx has to go shake shake the hippie college student down, get some money for that.
Hey, there we go. We're going to work it out. We'll get it started. So the music, how did you find, Chris, tell us about the song. Who wrote the song?
I wrote the song. I wrote all the songs in the show, with the exception of Send Credits, which Amy Heckerling wrote.
Oh, really? Oh, my God. That song.
So how it would work, though, it was really cool. I'm not like musical in terms of, I sing all the time poorly, but I don't like know how to play instruments or anything, but I love music a lot, and that was this really interesting, fun thing that I fell into. I was like, by the end I had written 5 songs. So I would write the lyrics, and then I would give them to this producer named Jonathan Sanford, and I'd tell him, I'd go, Hobo Railroad Projects, here's the lyrics, and just make it kind of like Mumford & Sons.
Right.
And so then he would get a couple of musicians to come play with him, and they'd record it and send it back to me. And then for Chillinx, I said, here are the lyrics. I think of Chillinx as a meld between Courtney Love and Tupac. So go to town, and then he would send the music back. So that's how it would work. I write the lyrics to Jonathan, and he'd record with the artist he knows.
That's, so when you were, were you thinking in terms of, was that the direction that you were like, okay, we have this kind of deep hip hop song, and it's going to immediately get appropriated for like the college scene.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I remember from when I was like 19, 20. When is that? That's like around 2000. I feel like a lot of that was happening. Like, there'd be a rap song, and like the next day, like a folk band would cover it.
Right.
So I was just kind of making fun of that.
Like
that
lots
trend.
of Beck doing things
like
that.
This band is playing Gin and Juice? What?
Right, exactly.
So I had written that in like that we would cross-fade out of her below the line listening to a rap version to above the line where the hippie college student is playing the song. And then as far as Christopher Shoeshirt goes, he auditioned, and I just, he was hilarious, and so I let him do it.
That's awesome. How do you, put out a casting for that? Just like hipster white guys with guitar?
The character was called Hippie College Student, so I think we were like, hey, do you know how to play guitar, and do you look kind of like a hippie? And so
he's like, I'm the guy.
I forget, I don't know, 5 to 10 people audition. And our casting agent had people come in, and Christopher's was just really, really good. Very
good. That's fun. Yeah, and then that was the bane of my existence / the best song ever. I was like, this song is either going to be played at my wedding or my funeral.
Or both.
Or both, exactly. I absolutely loved it. And then, of course, the credits song is just,
so funny.
I can't believe that Amy, I can absolutely believe that she wrote that. And then the visuals of those little kids.
Oh my God, those kids are so funny. One of them's Amy's grandkid, too.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my good. I hope it's
I think the last one you see.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a little kid walking, maybe holding a stuffed animal.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that one's Amy's grandkid.
Oh, that whole thing was fantastic. And then the little reprises at the end. It was so good. Mark Hamill. Tell us about that.
Oh, that had to be one of the trippiest parts of the whole show. It was like, we actually shot everything, and then we sent it to Mark Hamill. And I had my voice in there as a temp. And then we sent it to Mark Hamill and said, hey, do you want to do this voice? And he said yes. And we were like, okay, great.
Really?
I had so many moments, like you were talking about like casting LeVar and stuff, similar with Mark Hamill, where I'd be like, they said yes? Okay, great. I couldn't believe how often people said yes. I'm flattered they liked the material enough to do it. So then Mark Hamill was in Prague shooting a movie. So we recorded his voiceover in a similar situation to what we're doing right now. He was in a booth in Prague, and we were in a booth here. Me and Marin and Chris Rosati, one of our producers, and Matt Ramsey, the editor, and we had all the lines written for him, and then we had alt lines. So we try out a bunch of different. That's what kind of a fun part of voiceover is. You can try out a bunch of different stuff because it doesn't take the time of setting up the camera and all that stuff. So we had 80 million possible alts for all those Xander lines. Mark Hamill was just really cool and down for it. We had a really good time.
Well, he has a very story kind of, he's a voiceover guy, that's his thing.
Totally.
So he just excelled. And I absolutely loved when he was like, I'll just have a marshmallow IPA. And all the IPA shade was fantastic from the very
I'm making fun of myself for liking IPAs.
Well, I just loved all the blueberry lavender IPA.
Yeah, I know. They've gotten so ridiculous. It's like not even that far off from reality.
Exactly. And then I really did enjoy just the different networking of the houses, and we got to see Sean's house.
Yes, that's right.
And his hall. And when I'm gonna talk with him a little bit later in the week, one of the things that we're gonna talk about, I'm like, you got the little clone back at the office, and you got the side chick house. What's going on here?
Yeah, I know. Sean, I don't know. We're going to have to dig into Sean's personal life in season 2.
Oh my God, I cannot wait.
There's a lot to unpack there.
There really is, and I am ready. So excited. I love Sam Hansen, and I found that Sam Hansen is a producer over at
Mosaic.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Sam Hansen is the unsung hero of Weird City. Me and Jordan had the idea, brought it to him as a producer, and so he's been around since the very, very beginning. And when Weird City seemed like it was gone for a while, he's the one that kept it alive and finally got it over at YouTube and got it.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. That's always nice when you just have that person in your corner.
Oh, totally. Yeah, he was totally my rock. And he's also a very nice guy. So we were like, what should we name the nice house? We're like, let's name it after Sam. He pushed this show too. Let's give him a character.
And you call him Sam Handsome.
Yeah, that's right.
He's like, oh look, he's blushing, and he's like, Sean, stop. Absolutely loved it. Well, like I said, you've put together just an amazing piece of work, and
thank you.
I think it's really set a bar, and I really feel we talk a lot about. So one of there's been this debate lately about straight actors playing gay roles. Is this going? Is this a thing, and should it continue being a thing? And my stance on it has always been that you're asking the wrong question. It's not should straight actors play gay roles. Straight actors should play every role. They're actors. That's the entire point.
Right.
The issue is that instead of allowing the actor to define the role, we've allowed the role to define the actor. When the question starts becoming, oh, you played a gay role, are you gay? Then something's wrong. The real question isn't should straight actors play gay roles. It's why aren't there more roles?
Right.
Gay actors, for straight actors, for anybody. And so one thing where Weird City excelled immediately is the roles are there. You have, you have roles where there are straight actors, there are gay actors, there are trans actors, there are, actors of color, there are actors of different ethnicities, and they all work together. They're represented. You see them, and they're not whitewashed. It's not something where they're being hidden or kind of carried away. I said that's what we need, diversity and inclusion. And I feel that having that being responded to so bigly is a very good stepping stone. And it's kind of where we kind of need to go towards the future. Even in terms of just the age dynamic with, Stubert and this whole thing of bringing non-traditional relationships onto the screen. It's something that you don't see, and people kind of balk at that at first, but then it's this is something I haven't realized before. And so I love that idea of change, and that something is around the horizon. There are opportunities where a lot of people thought that there weren't anymore,
Yeah.
And so I really, really do appreciate it from that point of view, from a creative point of view, and just everything. I wish you nothing but the best.
Oh, thank you so much. And I'm so happy I was able to do that with this show. I think a thing I like about it that I wanted to say with the show was that, like, the world around it is dystopian, but largely these are stories about people like loving each other and making it through something. Mm-hmm. And so I like that dystopian setting, but I wanted there to be optimism in it.
Mm-hmm. Well, ultimately, I think that's kind of what the world is, especially now in this current administration. But I think
people are still falling in love.
Well, you just have people just trying to get by, and just trying to make it to that next level and see kind of what the next thing is. And it's very God, there was this quote, and I cannot wrap my head around it, but it's something about if you can't see yourself, then you can't blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, if you can't see yourself, then you can't kind of like move towards whatever this goal is. And it's just about being able to visualize yourself in the narrative. And
right.
I was talking we had a actress from the show on, and she was talking about
from my show?
Oh, from Teen Wolf.
Oh, from Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, mixing it up. She does a lot of projects on her own and that kind of thing, and she's been getting more opportunities to do that. And of course, with the dismantling of like the Weinsteins of it all and the singers of it all and that kind of thing, you're starting to see finally this money that's been kind of ruled by like one group of people and one kind of very specific ideology is starting to kind of get spread out. So now you can kind of tell more stories and tell them in a different way. And so it's very interesting to see people adjusting to that. You still have totally. Some people that are like very clenching to the old guard and not quite understanding why, but it's just all they know. And then you have people that are like, oh, let's get it. Let's go. Let's speed ahead.
Let's tell these stories now.
Exactly. So it's very interesting. Well, thank you, Sarah.
Oh, thank you. That was so fun. I really appreciate your and your fans' enthusiasm about the show. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Well, when season 2 gets geared up, please be sure to let us know. Keep us in mind.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you the second I find out. I think the fact that the show did so well with one promo and like a few billboards in LA just really speaks to, people are hungry for this stuff. So
yeah, definitely.
I want to make more.
Yay, and we want you to make more. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
Well, with that, say goodnight, Charlie.
All right, thanks everybody. Thanks for listening.
Yay. All right. Yay. Good night.
All right. Have a good one. Thank you. I think the thing I really like about it, sorry. That's my friend. I feel like I totally lost my train of thought, but just pretend I said something really deep there.
Yes. Ooh, yes. Very nice. Yeah.
Edit in, have another person say something deep.
There we go.
I was psyched to be able to do that, I know what it was.